Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Exploring Chromebook Accessibility Tools. I'm Steve, and in this session, we're going to be covering a whole variety of different tools. My little fun little math equation that I put here, CB plus GRW plus X, really indicates that the focus is going to be not only on the Chromebook accessibility tools, which are numerous and are awesome, but also a couple of features that I want to highlight with Google Read and Write that really provide that extra accessibility for our students. And then there's a couple of extensions that we're going to highlight as well. These extensions are available through the Chrome Web Store. One of the things that is challenging about the Google Chrome extensions, beyond the fact that there are thousands of them, is that you want to always evaluate them with the lens of whether they do anything extra for you that we can't already accomplish using our Chromebook and some of the other excellent tools we have, including Google Read and Write. So this session is a hands-on. There's only a couple of slides. It's going to be a live demo, which is really great sometimes when the internet goes down. And if you have a Chromebook, you can certainly follow along. And if you are using a laptop or an Apple computer, a Mac, or whatever, you can obviously follow along. You can use Google Read and Write, the tools that we look at, and you can install those Google Chrome extensions if you choose to do so. A couple of Google Meet notes. You're probably already familiar. The three dots in the bottom right corner of the toolbar give you the option to view full screen. This might help make things a little bit more accessible for you once we get out of the full screen slide here. You can also change the format of your view, so you can click Spotlight and all you will see will be this my screen, which I'm sharing with you. So this is our agenda. It is divided into different categories just for the purpose of this presentation. Of course, our kids aren't so easily categorized. You'll find some of your students will benefit quite nicely from a number of these tools that we're going to be looking at in this session. So we're going to start off by exploring the accessibility tools menu on the Chromebook. And I'm going to click Escape to get out of this screen. And we're going to start bottom right corner of your Chromebook, clicking the status button. You will see this pop up. And if we go to the settings gear, clicking the settings gear will allow you to go over to the left-hand side, click Advanced, and scroll down to where you see accessibility. Click. Always show accessibility options in the system menu. I want to turn this radio button on. Click, and then X out of settings. Now, every time I go into click my status bar, I'm going to see the little accessibility person. This is going to give me the menu with all of the accessibility tools that are currently available through Google Chrome operating system right now. So we're going to be covering a whole bunch of these in this session. But this is easily how you can turn on the accessibility person so you have easy access. So this is something that you'll want to do with your kids as well. So starting off actually with Captions, supporting our students who are deaf or hard of hearing. In fact, these are also excellent for kids who need a little extra focus, ELL kids as well. If you were here at the beginning of the presentation, you would have seen that I was using Captions in Google Slides. In the present mode, down at the bottom on the toolbar, you'll see the Captions button. If I click it, you will notice that Captions appear at the top as it's transcribing the audio, what I'm saying. One of the things that you will notice is that I'm doing an especially conscious effort to speak more clearly because I know the captions are happening on the screen right now. You'll also notice that it's not putting in any punctuation. One of the things that I like is that it filters out those pausing words, ums and ahs. If you happen to include those in your presentation, those get filtered out. Now I can click the down arrow on the button. I can change my text size to support students who need extra visual support. I can move it from the top to the bottom. And that is how I'm using captions in Google Slides. An excellent idea that a participant in an earlier workshop had was using this feature during school assemblies. So that would involve someone who is presenting with the Google slide having a headset on and speaking into the microphone so that the presentation is more inclusive for all of the students of the school. Let's turn that off. And let's head back out of present mode. The other area where captions is prevalent and quite important during our distance learning is in Google Meet. So when you're running your Google Meet sessions, there is a captions on, you can turn on the captions on the Google Meet toolbar at the bottom, and the audio from the shared screen will be transcribed on your computer, on your screen. And I've had a lot of really positive feedback from participants from other sessions telling me that it does do a great job. One thing that you will notice when you try this is that it does put in punctuation. So working just a little bit better than the captions feature in Google Slides. Let's check out a video in YouTube. Now, when you have videos in YouTube, one of the interesting things is that there is an auto generation feature for closed captions. So it uses speech recognition technology, and as you press play, those captions will appear at the bottom of the screen. Hey, there's Firefly. Now I can click the options, the settings, down below, and click options, and I can make all sorts of customization for how the captions are going to look, size, color, etc. So that's something that is readily available. That speech recognition is readily available in YouTube videos. Now, interestingly, if I take a look at the identical video in Google Drive, the Google web player doesn't support that same auto generation of the captions. So pressing play, you're going to see Firefly pop up, but no captions, even though the menu is there. So what that tells me is that the creator of the video needs to actually record that captions audio track when the video is being created, and I did not do that. So that's a couple of things to keep in mind when it comes to captions with your videos. Now I'm going to cycle back to the agenda, and we're going to head to some really great tools to support our students who require a little extra focus, attention challenges, maybe some vision support. And we're going to take a look on our accessibility tools menu. And this is something that I use all the time when I'm working with students. I use the large mouse cursor. Instantly, it is more visible. I also use the highlight mouse cursor. You will immediately notice that as I'm moving the cursor, a red circle appears around the cursor when it moves, and it fades away when the cursor stops. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you from a highlight perspective is the highlight text caret, and it provides a different color circle where I'm going to enter text. So notice how I clicked and that blue circle appeared and then disappeared to indicate that that was where I was going to be typing next. It might be helpful for your students. Now, The great thing about the accessibility tools menu, it's easy to turn things off, or sorry, to turn things on, and then it's easy to turn things off as well, just with one single click. Now, let's explore a couple of tools in Google Read and Write. Now, we're all familiar by now with how great it is to take text and turn it into speech, and to take our speech and turn it into text. But there's a couple of really awesome tools that will allow me to focus on the material on the screen and strip out all of the distractions. So I've got this web page here, and my goodness, there's a lot of ads, there's images, there's a lot going on that can really be distracting for our students. I'm going to click Google Read and Write, and the toolbar pops up. The first thing I'm going to show you is Screen Mask. Now with Screen Mask, it actually gives you this highlight bar where you can focus on just what you want to read, and everything else has got this translucent blue wash. So I'm not distracted, or I'm less distracted, and I can focus on what it is that I'm reading. But I can change, I can customize this. So I'm going to go to the three dots. There's a couple ways of doing it. I'm going to go to the three dots and go to Options and go to Screen Mask. Notice I can change my background color. So you know your students. You may be working with a student that has very specific issues when it comes to seeing color. So I can change the background to black. I can change my reading color to red. And then I can choose the background opacity, so how opaque the background is. The higher the number, the more opaque, the less distracting, because I won't be seeing what's in the background. Same thing with my reading light. I can scroll it down or move it up depending on what works best for your student. And then the reading light height, I can change this as well. So I'm making this a little bit smaller, and I'm going to click OK and watch the change. Now I'm really focused on a small piece of text as I'm moving the cursor down. And I have that red wash on my reading light. And again, that is fully customizable. And notice how opaque the background is. I can barely see anything except for what is in my reading light. A great tool for our students. Fully customizable. So that's the Screen Mask. The other tool that I want to show you, again, for simplifying the content of information on a web page, is, intuitively enough, called Simplify Page. So again, I've got a whole lot of information going on here, and I just want to read about dogs. So I'm going to click Simplify Page. Watch what happens. It opens up a brand new page, and all it gives me is the text. Now, it seems like a lot of text. So there's a whole bunch of things I can do with this. So from a visual perspective, I can change the presentation of the text. Okay, so I can go into contrast mode. I can change the contrast and invert it white on black. Or again, depending on my vision, I can change it around to what display works best for my eyes. For me, black on white. But that's pretty small for me. So luckily, I can click and I can make the font bigger. I can change the spacing between the font as well, which is fantastic. Okay, and then I can simplify it even more. So I can strip it down to just main points. So I can go for a greater level of simplification or less, depending on, again, what I'm reading. Now, I can also use this in conjunction with the Screen Mask. So I can really have the best of both tools and clicking the purple puzzle piece. Oh, there it is. It's already up. I click screen mask, and there it is. So those two features in Google Read and Write are excellent for supporting those students that perhaps get a little bit distracted, perhaps need that extra vision support. Screen mask, simplify page. Now, cycling back to our agenda, let's take a look at some of the great tools that really support our students who have a vision impairment, who really need a higher level of magnification. And let's X out. And I want to show you there's 4 levels of magnification that you can do on your Chromebook. So the first, let's turn off Google Read and Write. The first magnifies the content of your web browser. So using the control button on your keyboard and the plus sign, I can magnify the contents of the Google Chrome browser. The dog is coming in. It's bigger. Now, I can do that the exact same way. And as you know, you can do things on computers in multiple ways. I can do this the exact same way with 3 dots and zoom minus or plus. But the control plus, control minus is a shortcut. It's easy for our kids to do. Okay. Now you notice when I was zooming in, it was not zooming into the tabs at the top. It was not zooming into the taskbar, the shelf at the bottom. If I want to do that, I'm going to hold down on the control shift plus. Tap, tap. Notice the tabs at the top are getting bigger as I'm zooming in. And I'm going to, that's my maximum magnification right there. Zooming out, control shift minus. So this is a great way to quickly, easily zoom in on your whole screen. One way. Here's another way, or the third level of magnification. Clicking down on your accessibility toolbar, your accessibility person right here, you can use full screen magnification. Click. With full screen magnification, I can take my fingers on my touch screen and I can zoom in to maximum magnification. And I can use 2 fingers to scroll on my touch screen to move from side to side. So pinch in, pinch out to zoom in to the maximum magnification, and I believe that's 500%. So that's number 3. Number 4, let's turn off full screen. And let's turn on the docked magnifier. Now the docked magnifier, it splits your screen into thirds. The top third is the maximum magnification, and the bottom 2/3 is the regular magnification. So you'll notice as I'm bringing my cursor across the top, across the tabs, you see them magnified at the top of the screen, the top third of the screen. And I've worked with students who are working on their Chromebook. They don't qualify, or they hadn't qualified for one of the large vision laptops, but they used this tool, the dock magnifier, with great success. So that is the 4th level of magnification. I'm going to turn that off. Click. and docked magnifier. So now let's take a look at high contrast mode. So high contrast mode supports students with light sensitivity or eye strain. Let's click and turn it on. And it inverts the colors across the Chromebook. So every tab has got colors inverted. Now that hurts my eyes, but I guess it really helps some of our students. So high contrast mode, let's change that back because I want to show you an extension that I found in the Chrome Web Store, and it is called High Contrast. And it does exactly the same thing, except it also gives you variations of color as well. So whereas high contrast mode as an accessibility tool just inverted the colors, this gives you the option to view grayscale, the inverted colors, inverted grayscale, and then yellow on black. So it gives you a little bit more of a variety of contrast. Now, one of the differences is it doesn't automatically change it on all of your tabs. Let's see what happens if you reload the tab. No, you actually have to go up and notice how it went back to normal. So you need to change each of your tabs if you decide you wanted to use this extension, if you think that this would be something that would be effective for your students. Disable. And again, that's something that's available through the Chrome Web Store. Now, moving into tools to support reading and writing, there's a couple of outstanding tools. The first one that I want to show you is called Select to Speak. Click, Select to Speak. So, as we were discussing before, Google Read and Write has text to speech capability that will read all of the text on your screen. And that's great. But there are things that Google Read and Write does not read. Let's just refresh this. I'm in Google Drive right now. I can use Select to Speak to read any text on my Chromebook, even things like the names of files. I can click Select to Speak, click the text, and it reads it to me. Notice how a red box appears around the text. You also notice that each of the words was highlighted as it read. You didn't hear it read because it was going through my headphones, but it reads out loud, which is great for our students that need that extra level of reading support. I can click and it'll read any text on my screen. Click, it'll read the text in the tabs at the top of Google Chrome. So this is something that can work in conjunction with Google Read and Write. I can be in, let's see, Google Classroom, and I can have an assignment, and I can use Google Read and Write to read the instructions, but maybe the student can't read the names of the attachments to know which attachment they should be opening up first. Well, with Select to Speak, you can click and it will read that text. So it's a really terrific tool to be used in conjunction with Google Read and Write on a Chromebook. There are so many different applications. Let's take a look at another tool. Let's use Google Dictation. And just like Google Read and Write has talk and type, speech to text capability, in a Google Doc, students on a Chromebook can use Google Dictation to use their voice to type anywhere on their Chromebook. Here's an example. My cursor is flashing. I click Google Dictation and then I say Barracuda Pictures. It types, I click enter, and we all see pictures of ugly fish. I can be in Google Drive. I like Google Drive. I can use Dictation. I want to be in my Mr. Kreider folder. I can use Dictation to create a new folder. My Barracuda project. Create. There are so many different places I can use Dictation. Here's another great one. I can be in Google Slides, and I'm going to click and create a new slide. There it is. Now, if I open up Google Read and Write, talk and type is not going to work for me in the text box in a slide. It only works in speaker notes. Let's see how that works. There it is. It's already open. It's the second time that's fooled me. So my cursor is flashing, and I would expect that if I click talk and type, it would start typing right there, but it doesn't. It puts it in the speaker notes. Let's see. We're going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see it better. And view, zoom. Okay, let's give it a try. I think every student should be using a Chromebook. I turn it off and notice it's down in the speaker notes. I guess that's fine, but then we have to teach our students to select, Control X, click, Control V, which is extra work for our kids, but they can do it. Now, if they were using a Chromebook, look how awesome this is. I click Google Dictation and it automatically types in the text box of a Google slide. Super great. So there's lots of different applications for Google Dictation as well for those students that require that level of writing support. Let's click X. The last thing that I want to show you is an extension called Open Dyslexic. And Open Dyslexic is something that you can find in the Google Chrome web store, and it replaces web page fonts with something that's more readable for people with dyslexia. So if I click and I enable Open Dyslexic, one of the things that you will notice right away is the font changes. And as I am mousing down, it highlights the paragraph that I put my cursor on, again, making it more readable for our students. Now, this can still be used in conjunction with Google Read and Write. So as you can use the play button to have it read to you in this format as well. It changes the font in Google Drive. It was already displayed when I turned it on, so I just have to reload Google Drive. And you're going to see that a lot of the font is changed to make it easier for our students to see. Now, one of the things that I have learned is that it no longer works with a Google Doc. I thought that it used to, but it no longer changes the font automatically in a Google Doc. So this is particularly useful for browsing content online. Open Dyslexic. Turn it on, turn it off. So then the next time I go into Google Drive, I just need to reload the page. And it goes back to normal. Now, the last extension that I want to show you in this category is brand new. It's called Mote. And this is an excellent tool that is designed for adding voice recording notes into your Google Tools. Now, we already know that we can add a voice note using Google Read and Write in a Google Doc. So I can record a minute of my voice and attach it in the Google Doc. But a voice note doesn't work in any of the other Google tools. But with Mote, I can add a voice recording in any of my Google tools. Watch how it works. I'm going to click and I'm going to go back to my Google slide presentation. And I'm going to double click. And I'm actually going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see this. And then I'm going to click the comment and add a comment to my Google slide. And notice that the little Mote icon is right here, and it says start recording a 90-second maximum. And with a live demo, sometimes things go wrong. So let's just try this one more time. We're going to do a quick refresh. And as soon as it comes back again, we're going to double click Mote. We're going to click the open comments. And we're going to add a comment using Mote. This is where I can do a recording in my own voice, which is really great for me as an educator when I'm working with students that respond best to hearing my voice. A student can also use this tool so they can show you what they know in a variety of different formats. There was about 30 seconds of brilliance. It's thinking. And when I click comment, it creates a typed transcript. And it also has the audio that I can listen to as well by clicking the play button. I can edit the transcript. If I wanted to update the text, it doesn't automatically update the audio, but what a terrific tool. I can use this in Google Slides. I can also use this in Google Classroom. So I can add class comments, both in written form and also in audio form. I can be in a student assignment. Let's see now, I can open up Donna's assignments and I can record private comments. We can exchange private comments using voice instead of just text. There's a lot of different ways that this can be used. It's a really terrific new extension. Again, it's available through the Chrome Web Store. Now let's head on back to our agenda. And just like any other comment, I can edit, delete, link, etc. So I'm going to delete this one because we're going to look at the last section, which is specifically looking at students with mobility impairments. These are students who can't necessarily control a mouse. Perhaps they're using a joystick. Perhaps they're using eye gaze technology. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to show you on the accessibility menu. One of them is the on-screen keyboard. So this is a fully functional keyboard that allows you to use, obviously doesn't work great in Google Slides, but you've got a fully functional keyboard that your student can use in a touchscreen way, just like an iPad. Click. The other tool is automatic clicks. And we're going to turn off the on-screen keyboard. We're going to turn on automatic clicks because I want to show you that there's some great things that you can do. So now I'm going to take my hands off of the mouse, and all I'm going to do, I'm a student. I can't handle a mouse. I don't have the fine motor skills to click. Perhaps I am all I'm doing is using the trackpad, and I'm gently grazing my finger across the trackpad. I'm going to move my cursor all the way to the top, and I'm going to, when it hovers there, it executes the command of a left click. Let's do that again. Again, I'm not clicking, I'm just barely grazing. And then when it hovers, and you can customize how long that delay is from the time that it stops moving to the time that it executes that command, it does a left click. Now you notice the toolbar popped up with all of those buttons. The one on the left is left click. Now we can also do a right click as well. So if I want to get my menu, I can do that. So a menu on a folder, when oh, I didn't quite get it. Let's try again. So right now it went back to left click. I'm moving it over the right click button. Now I'm moving my cursor over top of the folder. And when it stops, it gives me the menu option. Notice how automatic clicks goes back to default, the left click, because that's what we do the most. We click. And I'm going to scroll down to change color. And I want to change it to red. And I just did that, barely touching the trackpad, not putting any pressure on it at all. And of course, any student who doesn't necessarily have access or able to use their hands at all, this works very well with eye gaze technology too. Let's try something else. Here's a double click. I want to go directly into the folder. So I can move my cursor and it's going to execute a double click. No, I don't want to be in there. So I'm going to move and click. So the next button is a click and drag. This allows me to actually take a file and drag it into a folder. I just dragged a Mendomo brainstorm into my Barracuda project folder, just using automatic clicks. Let's go back to the dog facts page. I can also use this to scroll. there's a scrolling feature right here. So this menu pops up. And then when I put my cursor over top of the down arrow, it starts to go. I can stop it by putting the X in place. I want to go back up again. So there is so much that I can do without the use of my cursor, any of the buttons on my mouse, keyboard, anything. And I can move this around the screen to a better spot as well, just by hovering over the right button. Okay, let's turn this off. I'm going to use automatic clicks to turn off automatic clicks. Am I? Let's try. Nope. Let's turn off automatic clicks. So the last thing that I want to show you right here, and again, back in the accessibility tools menu, are in the accessibility settings, because you can manipulate a whole bunch and customize a whole bunch of settings here. So you can change how select to speak, the settings here, to personalize those. You can, let's go back again, right? So if I click text to speech, it allows me to change the speed, the pitch, the volume, etc. So everything that can be customized in the settings menu in the accessibility tools menu. Okay, so it's worth exploring this in a little bit more detail so you have the right settings for your students. Very last thing I wanted to share with you is some resources. So going back to my Google Classroom, there are 2 playlists, YouTube playlists that I want to share with you. One is the accessibility training playlist, Google for Education. There is a dozen tutorial videos that go through a whole bunch of the tools that we looked at. You will definitely enjoy those. The other one, Google channel, is a series of videos that I've created for students and their families, an inclusive technology video library that I've recently uploaded to YouTube. And there's a whole pile of videos, again, that are specific for students in a whole bunch of different playlists. So some Chromebook tools. You'll also find a playlist for Google Read and Write, troubleshooting, organization, brainstorming with Mendomo. All of these videos are available to you.